say, okay,
I think we would also like to get to the demos. Like we can talk about fastai all day, but like it's such an interesting tangent. Let's come back to the demos because we do have interesting submissions and we'll just be wrapping up today. So today was supposed to be demo day. We have a few interesting submissions and we do have winners. So I'll let Wade announce them since he's been leading the study group. And since we do have the winners in the call, we'll invite them to present. Otherwise, either Wade or I will walk through it.
Yeah, awesome. All right, I'm going to share my screen just briefly, then I'm going to hand it around to folks that have submitted their work and let them present and demo and answer all the tough questions related to it. So,
sorry to interrupt the fastai chat. I know we're like so passionate about it. We can keep talking.
Can everybody see the presentation screen?
yes.
All right. I got like 3 monitors going on here and it's never clear to me which one's got the focus. And I'm always hoping like it's the right one because I got all kinds of other stuff going on. And I'm like, hopefully people are seeing the presentation.
Are you sneaking, trying to get me to upgrade? Wait, is that what's going on?
Yeah, it's always good. Like sometimes I don't get any responses, but usually Sonia, you're pretty good. You go like, okay, yeah, I see it. Other people are like, maybe just messing with me. So yeah, so this is session 5. And first, thank you so much for being here at the study groups. Thanks to Weights and Biases. Thanks to Sanyam, Andrea, Zach, Morgan, Arto, and anybody else I'm missing. And then and thanks to everybody who's stuck along for the whole 5 weeks of this study group. It's been a lot of fun for, I think, everybody. I'm just throwing this up here. This will be part of the slide deck. It's the same resources you've seen before. Hopefully you all will continue with fastai and Hugging Face. And then Sanyam, you still going to keep up with the Chai Time Data Science podcast? Does that continue at Weights and Biases?
Yeah, it will.
Okay, cool.
Luckily.
Good. So anyways, keep up with all that stuff. And again, if you got questions or want to help others who are on the same path that you've already walked, be active part of the Discord, and we'll keep working through fastai and Hugging Face stuff there. So the agenda today is pretty simple. This is the finale. We've been through the first part of the Hugging Face course. We looked at fast.ai and how to train Hugging Face transformers with fast.ai. And so today we'll be looking at some of the community submissions, blog posts, one competition notebook, and then we'll do some final Q&A. And I think that what we'll do is we go through and look at the winners of the competitions. After they present, maybe we'll do a little Q&A for each presenter. And Sonia, maybe you can manage all the questions and answers as you've done previously. So we'll do that. And then at the end, if there's some other Q&A or anything else that folks want to talk about, we can do that. So let's get to it. The awards go to, for best blog post on training transformers with fast.ai, we had 2 really excellent submissions. Tasmia, do you go by Tassin or Tasmia? Oh, you're on mute.
Just call me Maisha. Bangla naming kind of works differently from English, so that would work, or Tassin too.
Okay, because I see Tassin on Zoom, and then up here, when you sent the email, it said Tasmia, so I was like, okay, let me figure out which one's the right one here. So I'll go with Tassin because I think I've heard you referred to that way on the forums. But you actually really submitted like a really impressive blog post and work on classifying Bangla fake news with Hugging Face transformers and fast.ai. And then Ravi actually has an entire series. So he submitted his 3rd part, training transformers with fast.ai, but I also have linked his entire website in the slide deck, because I think you have 3 articles for the study session. And so they're all great. And there's also a bunch of other stuff with the fast.ai study group and whatnot. So I wanted to make sure folks were aware of that. So Tassin, let's start with you, and I'm going to unshare my screen and let you share. And you can go over Oops, hold on. Clicking the wrong things. And if you'd like to share your work, that'd be great. And then we'll go to Ravi afterwards.
Do I have to share screen right now?
Yeah, just I think you should be able to use it or be able to share, right?
Let's leave it. One second.
Meanwhile, people in the call and watching YouTube live, please drop some clap emojis for our winners. And join me in congratulating them. It's been a crazy start. It's really
is it working properly?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so before we go into it, first I will go over how I started on this project. So initially, Hugging Face recently launched like Jack's Community Week, and we were training like Bangla GPT-2 and T5 models, and there I started working with fake news data for like evaluating the language models on downstream tasks. So I kind of had some of the code prepared, and after that, so the real issue with Bangla fake news is the dataset are totally not available. There's probably only 2 papers on right now which are really good. One of them is this one, and probably the most prominent one. So here I was trying to reproduce the work done by them. So they also trained a multilingual BART on the same data set, but they had a much more like computational resources. So they kind of could train like BART for like 50 epochs without hanging. That is like a huge thing. So I will go over it briefly. So okay, my work is visual. I have to post some stock images there. Well, everything good. So in this post, we cover fine-tuning a multilingual BART model from Hugging Face Transformers library on banned fake news dataset. It was released in AREC 2020. It has a lot of low resource papers. So English fake news has a lot of coverage in social media, but same sort of effort in Bangla is non-existent as always. So Bangla, this banned fake news dataset contains like 50K annotated articles, but the problem is extremely imbalanced data. At least 48K articles are like authentic, and only maybe 1,200 articles are fake. So as far as I know, that I have worked with transformers, but I'm not really that experienced. So I will go with the way I can say it. So this post is like using the materials from this course, and so I initially was debating between which library to use, like Blur or FastHacks or Adapt NLP. So the FastHacks one, I'm really sorry, Artu, but it's not really documented that well yet, and so I kind of chose between Blur and Adapt NLP. And after that, I went with Blur because the high-level API seemed easier to use, like for people like me who are kind of new at both fastai and Hugging Face. Like I'm not totally new in fastai definitely, but I have never really used it in a way, especially with the V2 release. So after that, so here are all the imports. So this dataset is available in Kaggle, and this is like one sample. We have the article and the headline too. So in a news article, I was trying a sentiment classification on news NY Times Kaggle competition once, and I saw that if I drop the headline, the scores were going down in general. So in this case, I decided to kind of concatenate the headline with the article before feeding into the model. And so they actually did a lot of categorization here, and there's instead of 2, there's 4 dataset available. So I actually framed this problem as a general binary classification problem. And so after that, this is kind of a news article in Bangla, and it's always written in a very heavy way because it's news. So here I'm kind of doing the train test split. This dataset had one issue, that the fake and the authentic articles were in totally different datasets. So there was no like random sample provided. So we kind of had to work with it. And the real problem I have always felt with, like I'm kind of new, so I had trouble like setting up the data loaders in PyTorch so far. And I understood that if I have to get better, then I have to learn like how to kind of take different sort of data set and manage it into data loaders, but I'm still not good at it. So here I initially was using the low-level API, but then I figured let's just go from like a top-down approach, as Jeremy always says. For this blog post, I also wanted to kind of design it in a way so that people can just read it and go over like the most important parts in the library, like what do I need to learn from fastai and what do I need to learn from Hugging Face to go over like to make something. So I was watching all the lectures, and there's like 4 video lectures, and the information in them is actually pretty heavy. If I start writing on it, it would at least take at least 3 chapters of a book. Even if it looks small, 1 hour videos, but the content is pretty large. So after that, I understood for like working with this project, I need to kind of first understand 2 topics properly. From fastai dimension, the topics are callbacks and data blocks. And for Hugging Face dimension, I need to understand how to download the pretend weights and configuration part. Initially, I was like, why do I have this model configuration part separated from the like this is very modular, right? When I was initially using like fastai course 2 or 3, you kind of have that this notebook, then you write down all the code for CNN or anything, or at least copy paste it, and then you train it. But right now, all of the models are like pretend. I worked in TensorFlow Hub 2, and they also focused a lot on releasing like components of model to public. People like blocks, people can mix and match. But we can kind of see that now that the dataset also part is also kind of being thought of like that, with the TensorFlow's datasets library, and here PyTorch data loader and FastAI's data block. So I went over the paper first, like how they are thinking about it, this problem of like how to take this data to the models. And I'm having trouble with it. And honestly speaking, I'm kind of lazy, so I don't really want to work too hard on anything. So I figured let's just go over the paper first. From that, I saw that the dataset part, like the data block design, is the high-level API for FastAI, and there's the idea is like going over the like raw specifications for how I want to pre-process the data for like pre-defined problem domains. And in this case, it's text classification, so it's like a really easy problem domain. So we just use this learner for sequence classification, and pretty much the modeling part is easy here actually. We can just go over the documentation and the IMDb like the thing there, the demo that works pretty well. So I just had to technically speaking, this is not that hard, but I wanted to like create a blog post that goes over the entire process, get the data, use the Datablock API, integrate with a blur, then push the model to Hub, and also use 1DB in the process. I didn't use weights and bias so far. It seemed too hard, but it's really cool. So this time I used it, and my sister was totally impressed. Okay, what is this thing? And then so here first I will go over the Datablock API's some parts. So here we're doing the tangent split, and now the main idea is to kind of like just take this data set and take it to the Blarner for sequence classification API. So I saw that the Blarner API actually is using like fastai AI's data blocks, so like the ideas really well. The splitter methods and the like there are many splitting methods for like just splitting the data set, right? There is random splitting methods, and also this one where we are just kind of showing which one is from the training set and which one is from the evaluation set here. So after that, there was this model choosing part. So for this project, my initial aim was to use, there is a Bangla BART model available too in Hugging Face Hub now, using that and comparing with the multilingual BART. But the way it worked out, actually, I could train the multilingual BART, but when I tried that Bangla BART model, it started giving some errors with some sort of, I'm not really sure why it happened. I would have to see it later. So here I actually had to kind of experiment with the learning data a lot because I saw that in Colab, this data set, it has only 50K articles in total, but it takes at least 100 half hour for running in my network at least per repo. And waiting that much for a blog post is like really hard. So I kind of swore to myself, I'm never going to like take really large data set for blog post again. This is the last time. And so here are some results. The actual paper people trained embed for like 50 epochs. The learning rate was this, and the optimizer was Adam. Batch size was 32. I tried to like really increase the batch size, because in this sort of cases, the batch size is really important. And as far as I know, like larger batch sizes generally give better results. But here I couldn't really go over 4. The laptop hangs, and so the F1 score for them was like the fake class was 0.68, and the overall was 0.99. So I actually checked out multilingual BART a little bit too. Like I understood that this has been trained on like multiple languages with a really large corpora. It has also Bangla. The model is using support tokenization, like BP probably. These are the information for the model. And here is like the 1 dB part, where I seriously had to figure out, like, I feel like 1 dB is providing too much information, to be really honest. And for me, I would have to learn like how to kind of figure out like which like wants to keep. I know for a team working on like infrastructure, it would really help to have a lot of system related knowledge. So here we can see the loss is going down. And here I will actually go over the how to understand like that or any of the libraries. So I felt like so these are the 4 components like really important. Considering how to use this Datablock or the philosophy behind it, to be honest. Like I really like that Datablock's idea of composing like transformations together to kind of achieve a particular task. It totally goes with my philosophy too, like make things as easy as possible. And so I also like the learning rate finder, but one problem I felt like that focusing really a lot on learning rate finding and like making the model converge as fast as possible doesn't essentially translate into like total the business need. I mean, we're not a competition for like fastest model possible in general, and the model performance matters a lot too. So I was really experimenting a lot with how to use this learning rate finder, but I was not sure how to like use it in a really like proper way of in business term, I guess. So after that, so here is my understanding of how the Datablock API works. And here is where I am totally handing over the work to Jeremy again. This is the paper link. And so this is the low-level API. I actually went through the low-level API for Brad to see how the high-level API is using the low-level API. And it was really cool. So here one part I couldn't really highlight in the blog post is how Brian is kind of taking the like Hugging Face models and the architecture components and integrating it, because this part is like in the video, and that part is really large. So here we are kind of sending the data frame. We are sending the pre-trained model name, and then the learner for sequence classification. This high-level API actually goes over like fetching the Hugging Face objects. And for Hugging Face objects, we mean the model configuration and the architecture. So those parts I felt like it was important to understand and highlight, but I didn't do it. I tried to use the learning rate finder. So I saw in the first API post that this is 10^2 is the minimum one, and the suggested one is like in general 1 order of magnitude lower than this. So I kind of went with the 10^3. And the interesting part was like the actual paper also used this one, like 5 × 10^2 as a learning rate. I thought that was interesting. So I tried this with 1 cycle, and I did one mistake here. So I was initially running over the full data set, but it was taking a lot of time. After that, I had to really decide that this is the time I'm going to take half of the data set. So instead of 48,000, I took like 20,000 articles for Bangla, authentic news, and the rest were fake. So you can see kind of the F1 score is going to like 0.8979, but that one, that the actual benchmark model trained for 50 books, and this one is training for 5 books. So I'm kind of okay with my performance here. And so these are some of the results. And honestly, this is the fake news from news, but it's kind of like it seemed that Bangla fake news data collection, the news resources were collected from the really reputed trusted sources. So the fake news were maybe 1200, 1500. I found this part of how to annotate the fake news part really interesting from their actual paper. So here is the run summaries, run history. I really like these results from 1DB and report. And so this is the part where we model share. So one problem I found here is like, for sending something to Hugging Face Hub, we have to kind of use this Git LFS because the file size are really big for the vocabulary, like the tokenizer and the model weights. So this is the one where we are pushing to the hub. Hugging Face has a really good like API for like pushing to push to hub, like this is the highest level, and there can also be like some more customizations on how you want to send things to hub. And I thought this is like get blur transformer from this part. I'm not sure, this is not in documentation yet that much. Like this is part where I'm totally using the code from that is given, but here I want to kind of expand over how to explain predictions part. So I was really trying to like how to visualize like the model explanations more. I used in Bangla. I worked on Bangla question answering before, and but back then there was no interpretability libraries for transformers, and this is the first time I found it. So here I saw this uses something called layered integrated gradients for like scoring which tokens are contributing to the model's final predictions more. So here is like the visualization. One problem I found is like this level 0 part. So when we are kind of using the blur API, it automatically takes care of tracking which level is which. But after I have sent it to Hub and again downloaded it from the Hub with the pipeline API, it's from the level 0 and 1, so it's kind of hard to interpret. And I feel like this is a very subtle bug. And another thing I noticed is that like when we're trying to like predict a sequence, this one is probably predicting is that authentic, but these are subword tokens, and subword tokens are like inherently less interpretable than the word tokens, as far as I understand, because these are breaking into like the smaller bits. So I would have to like study more over how it's working, but I would like to show how these transformers interpret work here, and like just a plugin for the library people. So here is how the pipeline part works. So Hugging Face is really a good idea here that this is a bit like scikit-learn's pipeline, where we're kind of composing all the models and the transformations in to achieve a particular task. But here we're just doing it for like transformer models on LLP tasks. So this is like an auto model for sequence classification and auto tokenizer. It picks out which tokenizer to use with like which model. So this is where this is my first model sent to Hub at last, after like failing for at least 3 times during the JAX week. So I was totally proud of it. And I also kind of did another mistake. Never ever like totally restart the collab after like training a whole model for 5 hours. This is like my like veteran knowledge here. So this is like the random text. And what they use like right now, this library is supporting question answering, translation, and probably sequence classification tasks, but no support for like NAR and token classification tasks support are not provided yet. So here we kind of use the sequence classification explainer, we send in the model and the tokenizer, and it scores the tokens according to how much attention the model is giving to each of the like tokens. Here the tokens are actually somewhat tokens instead of the real ones, and we can kind of see like which one is getting more importance. And but honestly, this is not that interpretable yet, and people will probably try to murder me if I try to show it like this is really important. But this is, at least it's actually more interpretable than 0. Because transformer models are more like a black box and really hard to understand too with all the encoder stacks. So here are the resources. I think people who want to like go over like to use this like integrated libraries, which are kind of composing and making 2 or 3 more frameworks together, like there are like fast hugs, and I didn't really see this trend that much until now. Like using totally different like libraries to totally work together. honestly, I feel like the PyTorch ecosystem is much better in this respect compared to Hugging Face, and so I'm sorry, compared to TensorFlow. So here are all the resources. I would totally recommend to go over this fastai paper first to kind of have that idea. And I thought the blur documentation was really good too. I really like this collab. And here are some model specific parts. And I also had to learn how to use callbacks. So that's a very large part of FastAI library, and a totally large part I had no idea about. So I had to kind of study it. And this blog post I really like to like how to use the learning rate finder technique. So the real benefit for the fast AI integration with Hugging Face comes from this idea that we can kind of take the different parameters, split into groups, and use different learning rates for each of the groups, right? So without understanding this, how to like use this learning rate finder technique or discriminative fine tuning, how this sort of things are working, it's hard to like kind of get an idea how to use it. So here is this is pretty much my blog post. It's very like small, but that's like done by purpose. I wanted to like highlight extremely important parts only and nothing else. So thanks a lot for considering it as a winning post too. Um, if anyone wants to ask anything as a QA part.
I just want to say before probably Sanyam steps in with some questions, this is like really blew me away, like how great the article was and how it was presented. I was so jealous because I blog, a little bit, and I was like, I don't think anything I've ever done looks as nice as your work. So I want to ask the first question.
Yeah, we were discussing while I think you were judging this, we were just talking about how extensive and like thorough this blog is. So Maisha, it's not short. Like we at least a few of us found it like very detailed.
Yeah, it was awesome. And just that you applied also this stuff to a different language besides English. And I love the interpretation stuff at the end. Like I didn't even know that existed. But how did you get so good at blogging and being able to articulate your work in a short blog post like this? Like it's really phenomenal. Like
Oh, so so I'm kind of more like an internet child. Like Sanyam will understand it, right? Like there are many people from India who are like kind of, we are not really fitting in that much with the people around us, and so I was hanging out in Kora all the time when I was younger. I was in Canada and Waterloo totally alone. I totally hung out with the Kora top writer group all the time. So, but back then I was very volatile, I guess, moody, and I was a teenager. But the people were really great. They were great writers. They were giving me feedback on my writing all the time. So for 5 years, I was like a Quora top writer from straight from the like year I started writing, and I got a lot of feedback on my writing. But I was writing on pop culture then, like the movie and the wiki and the fandom, and I was totally in the fan fiction stuff too. So I kind of brought that, and then I got interested in machine learning in actually 2017, and I went to Udacity, and Udacity also has a really good career section in their website and also in their channel. They encourage a lot of people to blog about their experience, and then I met Luis Serrano. So Luis Serrano was the like the head of like machine learning, like the nano degree, like he was doing something significant. I'm pretty sure about it. So like he was encouraging a lot to me to blog too. When I showed my capstone project there, he told me it looks like a story. So that totally went to my head. Okay, my work looks like a story. I want to use my storytelling abilities of my total like fandom of pop culture to machine learning blogging. And then I started in 2019 first, I actually started working with Bangladata. So I was doing an NLP course in my university, and I initially did a machine translation project, and then I had to do my thesis project. So there too, I didn't really want to work. So my supervisor told me, no, Maisha, you should actually put some effort in your like thesis project and do a research paper on it. I was like, no, I don't want to do it. So after a lot of back and forth like that, I told, okay, I'm going to work on Bangla question answering. And I was more immature back then, like even 1 year ago, I shouldn't have done it. But my professor was a very patient guy. Like he also kind of gave me at least 5 iterations of feedback on my paper draft writing. And I found writing like related work sections really are like if anyone has seen like the university academic writing sections, they put a lot of effort on how to do literature search. So after literature search also has in HCI especially like how to do literature synthesis. So so when we're like kind of taking multiple sources and people also try to synthesize it. In academia, it seems that writing and reading is like a sport. So people really try to go over lots of ideas on how to do it efficiently. I ended up downloading bunch of like tools for literature studying. There is Mendeley and there is also Zotaro and some more. So after going through all of that in this heavyweight writing technique and also a lot of anime, so and I was also yeah, Luis did have an interview. I really like his content. He has like sorry, I was reading the chat. So after like you kind of have this all of the component, and I'm also have been kind of thinking how to really kind of manage good blog post in like a machine learning community. The blog posts are generally very technical. And they're also encouraged to be technical by the people who are like reading often. Like the master travelers don't want to spend their time over reading something like that is kind of considered as easy by them. But for me, when I'm a beginner, then I can really read their notebooks properly and actually understand it. So there is like that information discrepancy part always. And I don't really like it. I felt like reading is like a very universal thing. And people, whatever people read, they should be able to understand it. And so and and also another thing is like HCI and social sciences, often their papers totally read like stories. They are also representing information, but in a way that looks very I mean they are totally doing a storytelling on like qualitative research. And I also went through like many of the lectures in the qualitative research community because one of my teachers works there, and I kind of had to sit with her for like her seminars. I didn't want to, but she really insisted it. And then and another thing is the rationalist community. So I have a friend, Kevin Simler, like so he's like a long time blogger. He runs a blog called The Melting Asphalt, and he has the very right blogging community. So there are people from Less Wrong, then there is a Ribbon Farm from like the Venkatesh. So those people already blog like a pro. And I have been reading their blogs from when I was a child. So I always wanted to do what they do. Like they actually kind of, they are coming from the philosophy community actually. So that philosophy community really focuses on representing ideas, but the machine learning community really focuses on representing systems. And I'm not sure how to kind of like combine those two yet. I really like the way they do series, like the blog post series. Ravi Chandra has one, and I'm really interested in seeing it, like how people plan out the content production for series. But like that's the thing, like for good blogging, I felt like the main ingredient is like coherence first, and also kind of like writing is like a putting a lens, right? So like we kind of have to pick and choose on this element should be emphasized and this element should be like reduced always. And it's true for academic writing too. And my formal writing is really bad. Like here, I was writing blogging for a while, and then I had to switch to formal writing, and now I'm switching to blogging again. And so this back and forth kind of makes writing really hard. I know Sebastian Rudar, he really pulls it off really well. When I started writing NLP papers first, I totally went to his blog, tried to copy his writing style, literally wrote it a lot, like in his style, but it's not really like I'm that good, or I don't know even if I would be, but that's kind of the idea. Like you kind of have to work like a creative person in Hollywood, more like as a blogger, more instead of a scientist, like pick and steal other people's techniques, kind of use it and totally experiment with it. At least that's how I like to work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was awesome. Like you have a real gift for articulating technical concepts that are, you make it easy to understand. So I hope you keep up doing this type of stuff. It was really great. Like I was just like, oh my gosh, like he did such a great job. Like these are difficult concepts. And so like you just did a great job presenting them. And it was super straightforward, easy to read and understand. So like really awesome. And
The
really,
philosophy was, if I don't understand something, then I'm not going to write it.
yeah, this is something like Sanya talks about a lot, blogging and doing articles. And I think just even from what you're saying, like the more you do it, the better you get. And if you want to get good at it, you got to just get in there and just do it. But really fabulous. So I'll let Sanya ask any other questions that popped up.
Thanks, Manisha. I would just, with respect to this time, I would request moving the questions to the chat. So if you could the screen. But I would also like to point out that many people have been uploading your work in the YouTube chat and also in the Zoom chat. Guys, this is like an online study group, so I would request you to at least drop some clap emojis. This was an incredible book, and I know you mentioned that this was your first run with Blur, so that's really cool to see that you've done such an interesting work. And I think also it's really fascinating, at least for me, to understand like that weights and biases. You just need to add one command and we take care of everything.
Yeah, that was one of the like craziest thing ever, right? I mean, the logging techniques, we didn't really have it in like even 1 year ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'm sad to admit I actually did a conference call with Morgan because I'm like, hey, how do I use weights and biases in fast AI? And just literally we had like a half an hour block and the call lasted 30 seconds. And I was like, that's it? And he goes, yeah, that's it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing right there. And yeah.
Fascinating to see that just, but at least for the frameworks that are integrated, and a lot of them are, with just one line, we capture every possible detail. I know you mentioned like it's a lot of details, but also for a lazy person, like you just add that one line, you're good. You're training in Colab, you're training on your model on your machine, you're training in AWS. You said you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So thanks for trying that out as well. Now let's move the conversation to, I think Ravi is next.
Yeah, Ravi. Share away.
Yep. Thank you so much for selecting the blog post. My motivations are really different writing the blog post. Let me share my screen. 1 second. I think Zoom requires some permissions. That's a different on the Mac. Okay. Well, it looks like I have to rejoin the call. Is it okay? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Just let me rejoin the call. Okay.
You have to give like a permission and then they force you to restart.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, let me come back.
Hey, Tostin, what did you think about JAX versus PyTorch since you did the JAX week?
JAX makes parallelization really easy. There is like a PMAP and VMAP for like parallelizing batches, and there's also functions for vectorizing functions. So I thought that was really cool, but it's really hard to understand, and I need to like study it. And 3 weeks is not enough. Like there has been 3 lectures on JAX there, but this is definitely not enough for people like me who needs more to understand it. So I'm going to like go through their forums and like really annoy them.
In 3 weeks, you can decide if you want to dive into a framework.
No, like 3 days content.
Okay. So can I go ahead?
Please.
Yep, go for it.
Okay, I'm able to share my screen. Okay, my motivations were different when I'm writing the blog post. So I submitted one notebook, which is MRPC on the dataset competition thing, and I used the bird-to-bird uncaged for defining for using this particular competition. But then what I encountered while doing this one is that since I'm very new to this fast AI world, I have been roughly about 10 weeks, 11 weeks, I guess. So I was trying to understand all the fast AI library, and then initially I felt very overwhelmed by what's PyTorch and what's fast AI and all those things. But then once I tried understanding its callback system and how it is at low level, it's how it is just a PyTorch, and then how I saw and how I use those concepts from the fast book, then I understood that that was very easy in terms of creating models and creating all of that stuff. And at that point, when I was trying to understand all of these things, I wished I had some kind of blog post come tutorials which will help me understand it in a better way and easy way. The same thing I encountered while I was trying to do this competition thing. So I had this Blur API, I had this Adapt NLP, and that FastX, and I'm new to three of those. So I started understanding three of those, and then again we have one layer PyTorch, we have Fast AI. Now we have integration with another one, the Blur AI, the Blur API. So I had done a blog post on that, which is kind of let me share that right here. Okay. So this blog post here, which is kind of how do you start with training the transform with the fast AI? How do you set up your environment? How do you have your necessary libraries, necessary imports? And then till here, I was thinking about writing just the Blur API thing. How does a Blur API work, and how does the functions work? But then I quickly realized, if I am a new person to this particular blog post and I come back here, and let's say I'm coming from a fast AI environment, I don't understand what is Blur API, how does it act on top of the fast AI. So I started writing this blog post in a different way. So from here, the context went differently. So I wanted to highlight what's transformers, how do we use them, then what is fast AI, how do I use it, if I'm using the Blur API on top of it, what steps I'm going to change. So when you see the application, we see a mix of fast API and the Blur API concepts, because Blur API is just one of the it's a cream on top of the fast AI kind of thing, but it's really great in giving all that necessary things to us. So I started writing about this one. So how does we take the highlights of fast AI, understand Hugging Face differently, and then how do we have the same steps we want to use it in the fast AI? And then if I'm using a Blur API on top of it, how do I actually change that particular thing, and how both of them differ? So I had each step explaining about what happens in Blur API, what happens in the fast API, and then what is the similarity in a fast API. If I want to create a block, how do I do it? If I want to create a learner in Blur API, how do I do it? And then what steps are common to the fast API even when I'm doing that, so not to just confused. So I had each step describing how do I do it, and I linked all of those things. The Walk with Fast AI was a great resource when I was understanding that particular competition thing. The Blur API page was really great. The documentation is really nice, and I've chance to go through Adapt NLP and FastX as well. I had another blog post I started writing on Adapt NLP, but it's not incomplete, so I did not share that. But till here, it was a really great, amazing experience understanding both the APIs. And this competition really gave me, this is the first competition I'm participating, and this competition really gave me insights into how do we understand things, how do we work on different kinds of things. Because I submitted MRPC dataset here, but I really had another one which I was working on, SST2, but it was lots of errors. I'm still debugging through it, so I'm trying to understand how to do it. So I am mix and matching the Blur API, also the Walk with Fast AI resources. We have some great resources there at Fast API. So I was asking questions, and Zach was kind enough to answer in that particular Discord. So it was a great experience, and thank you so much for selecting this blog post.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you have another gift for like writing blog posts, like they're super clear. And I think I put this in the chat. This is like a great resource for folks that are starting out with the SETI course and starting out with FastAI and Hugging Face. I would definitely send them to your blog. You summarize everything I've tried to say over 4 hours, I guess, in 4 weeks, and really succinct blog post with good examples. So really well done.
Thank you.
Also super consistent. Like Ravi has been studying and also sharing it every single week.
Yeah.
That's really awesome, and like it's great to see that he's been learning and also sharing it with all of us.
Thank you.
And you know what's awesome is that if you look at folks who share what they know, like it's amazing how they just blow up in the community. I mean, Jeremy, why is he so like well known? It's because he shares everything for free. Sanyam, where did he come from? Well, he shares everything. He's doing the podcast, the blog post. Same with Zach. You know, he's real active on the forums and the Walk with Fast AI. So like when you do these things, this is how you kind of like blow up in a good way, and you get it creates opportunities for in your career. It's fun to be able to help people and see other people come learn from you and actually develop their own skill sets. So it's really impressive. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Every week I always saw your blog post and always made me feel good.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Sanim. Thank you all.
I think Ravi also has won the best result. Was this a track or was this a side?
Oh yeah, I asked it, which was so having gone through the course, I know you're also going through the fastai course. What would you say like is the absolute most important things like someone just starting should know about and like focus on just starting out?
Okay. One thing I really was helpful for me is trying to understand one single thing at one single point of time, not getting very overwhelmed. And I really like a line from Sanyam when we were on a call. We were in a different context talking about some personal computer, but then he told me that you should really avoid the rabbit holes, because I'm a software engineer by nature. So what I was trying to do was I was trying to understand every single method going into the library in the fastai, which like first 2 weeks it tripped off me. I cannot get anything out of it. But then he told me that you should avoid the rabbit hole. And I asked him, the second question was, should I read papers? He said, not right now. It's not the time. Your time to understand. So I was taking one single concept, trying to understand how does it work, the different variations. And then I try to experiment with it, what works, what doesn't work, what would break with it. That really helped me. And then writing about it made me more concepts very clear for me. That really helped me. And then understanding now different things like Hugging Face, Fast AI, Blur, Adapt NLP at every single all of it one time. Again, it's a big, the big mixture of all of those things. So again, it's overwhelming. So again, at the same time, I was also trying to understand one single thing at a time. That really helped me a lot.
That's awesome. That's really great advice.
Yep.
Someone told that to me. I'm not that smart. I was just passing those words.
Yeah, I think Jeremy has said that a few times, right? In terms of their teaching approach. That by the way is one thing that's drawn me to fastai and why I recommend it to everybody is that having gone through the Andrew Ning course at the end, I was like, okay, now what do I do with all this stuff? I've learned how to calculate partial derivatives and do a real simple neural network. And then I found Jeremy's course and I was like, oh my gosh, after the first hour, I already have CNN and I could do some image classification. I'm like, I could see how to actually use it. And so, yeah, that's really good advice. And hard for software engineers to do that, by the way.
Hard for everyone.
I was up till 4 a.m. on I think 2 nights ago trying to deploy multiple Docker containers to AWS, and I was like, I should just go to bed. But I felt so close. I just kept at it. And then finally at 4 a.m. it worked. I was exhausted and I'm still recovering. So I know how that is.
We've all been there when we find a bug and it's just evening and then you look out the window, it's like the sun's rising and you
So anyways, congratulations. We're going to move to the next competition. And the only one who submitted and actually got great results, even though it was on the MRPC data set, it was still really great. So I forgave you on doing the other data set, and I'm counting on you doing the SST2 eventually, and you have to blog about it. But
definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. And thanks for submitting that. And then our final competition, most interesting application. Tassin, I put you down for this one for 2 prizes because not only was it a beautiful article, but the application to Bengali is something like I thought it was just amazing, and just the entire work, the interpretation work at the end, just really fantastic. So I hope you're okay with getting 2 prizes.
Oh, totally.
Great. And then also, go ahead. Also, we have Hernan, who actually this is a work in progress, but I'd love for him to spend some time presenting and talking about what he's working on. I have a link to his GitHub, but he's actually doing some really interesting stuff with applying fastai to training transformers for Spanish. So I'm going to hand it over to him. I think he's on the call. So let me figure out how to stop my share.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Fine, thanks.
Anyways, thank you so much for submitting your work. And yeah, I thought it'd be great if you can maybe share what you're working on and kind of like your overall like direction and objectives with your work.
Yes, actually, it's at the very beginning. Okay, let's see. Can share screen here. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can see GitHub HF fasting.
Let's see if we can move. Okay, well, my idea is just to, well, at first I was a bit ambitious about the project, but I knew that I couldn't be able to finish something was a bit tough. So actually reduce it. Okay, my idea is that try to think about how people would try to figure NLP problems. So maybe would approach trying to download a corpus and for instance apply probably not classification, but maybe would look like name entity recognitions or even sentimental analysis. So I started not by using the datasets that are in the hub, in Hugging Face Hub, but another corpus that, well, actually that's an example that's in a university in Spain. Using the same strategy like fastai, that for the very beginning start to see and work end to end, try to solve the problem end to end. Well, and that's what I'm trying to do here. So the first thing is just build the data set, which is the same, the first notebook. It just to get a data set with, in this case, it's a multi-label, multi-class classification. And well, to be able just to download and to format the data set, the corpus, and the next notebook, it's just another one that it's just a simple one using the most this one. This is the most simple blur high API, which is extremely easy to use. And I'm using a pre-trained model in English. This I using the Steer Roberta base. And while using the learner for sequence classification. So well, it works quite well. Even though the model was pre-trained in English. Well, here is the results, the F score best one score. And then I found another one model, protein model. This one is NLP Town, which is multilingual. And it's a bigger model, kind of twice in size, but it also is, but it was pre-trained in Spanish language. So, and well, training with 3 cycles, and here are the F1 scores. Ideally, what I wanted is to write notebooks that are incrementally more deeper. So this one is using the Blur API, the high-level API, and then use the BLearner API, and the last one is using the fastai learner API, the simplest, the standard that we know for the fastai course, which is this one. Well, that was my idea, but I need to keep working on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know what I like about your notebooks, Hernan, is that you really start at the very beginning, which is we typically, just download a data set. And that's a really challenging thing to actually create a data set, something that you can actually use from something where you can't just download it from Hugging Face or from somewhere else. So I love the whole process that you start with the data set creation and then show how to work with it with both the low-level, mid-level API as well as the high-level API. Because the high-level API makes it simple to do these things, but you really start to understand what's happening when you start, diving down to the lower bits and seeing what's going on. And it's amazing because you start seeing how concepts of like callbacks and like how the learner works and the learning rate finder. Once you understand those concepts, all of a sudden everything starts clicking, and you can apply that to things beyond NLP, like working with vision. You're like, oh yeah, there's callbacks right there. Oh, I see what's happening. I see how that's altering the tensors and whatnot. So I was really impressed. I hope you keep us posted on your progress.
Yes, I'll try. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing this. Also, I think Jeremy said this or someone else said this, that with like languages that most of the researchers aren't looking for, and a language that you speak, if you try any technique, chances are it will be state of the art. So I know a lot of interesting work will come from all of you. So I really look forward to that. And it was like really interesting to see the collection of all of the notebooks. So thanks for putting that together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, I'm going to share my screen for some final words here. Find it. There we go. Anyways, thank you so much to everybody who submitted their work and for being willing to come online and present. Really awesome stuff, and really encourage folks to go back and read those posts and ask questions and get involved. So as we end with this study group, I know we'll probably do another one if folks want to once the second series from Hugging Face comes out, but there's always homework. So really encourage folks to watch the official course videos and toss in one thing, like remember in the interpretation where you saw that label 0 and label _1, there's actually a way to fix that. And I think Sylvan covers that in session 4. You can actually update the config file. So take a look at that, and then I think that you'll be able to fix that issue, so you'll see the actual labels.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely watch the course videos. There's a lot of good content over there, and they're fun to watch because they're very succinct. They're like 3 to 5 minutes mostly, so really easy to go through. And of course, those are the folks that are working at Hugging Face, so good people to learn from. The other thing, as I think was demonstrated today, is blogging. try to beat Ravi, see if you can go ahead and surpass him on blogging. He's pretty active. So that's my challenge to all of you. But blog about things in particular, questions, difficulties that you've had along the way, things that were hard to understand, and spend some time really understanding it and explaining it to others. Because once you're able to explain those things to others, then you know that you really understand them, and you're going to help people maybe save hours, struggling with things that you had to struggle with. So definitely encourage folks to keep blogging. Enter a Kaggle competition. There's always NLP ones popping up, and I think there's ones in the playground. Try taking some of this stuff. Use Adapt NLP, Fast Hugs, Blur. Use all of them or one of them, and kind of see how that goes. You learn a lot by competing and doing that. And then help out folks on the Discord forums. We're going to keep that open, so I hope folks will be active. And along the way, read a paper or two. I know Tassin recommended the fastai paper, which is a good one, easy to read, and really explains how fastai, like the design objectives, and how things work from the low level to the high level API. So that might be a good one to start with. But yeah, try to read some of the papers. And I think that is it. And thank you for joining. I've had a lot of fun. Appreciate the Weights and Biases folks hosting all this, and Sanyam for his expert hosting and handling of the Q&A and the Zoom bombing. So really appreciate everybody. And if there's any final Q&A or things folks want to talk about, I'll go ahead and open it up.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Everyone who really helped us on the, Sanyam, it's I think 11:35 p.m. for him. It's great to see all of these guys joining here. Thanks, Vedi, for such a good encouragement. And thank you all the folks from Andrea, Morgan, everyone from Zach, Otto Fashax. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
I have three things to say. So let's please join me in thanking Andrea. I know most of us, at least we are the guys talking on Zoom, but really Andrea is making sure that. And I know you all see her on the Zoom call. She's always behind the scenes, but she's making sure that nothing goes out. So we really need to thank her, and we also need to thank Wade. I'm just helping coordinate Q&A, not doing a lot. Wade's been the star of the show. So all the thanks to Wade. And the other thing I really want to highlight is this has been a cycle of learning. I remember Wade was leading the previous groups where we were just discussing the lectures. Now we're at the point where we should be building stuff. So it's really interesting to see as a group also. We're not just talking about, did you watch the lecture? Do you have questions from the lecture? No. What did you build? Show me that. I'll ask you questions on that, and I'll make sure others do it as well. So that's really cool to see. And I really want to be a part of those study groups and help those. So the third announcement I would have for everyone, I've joined Weights and Biases, and my responsibility, literally my job responsibility, is make sure more of this happens. So please keep an eye out on our Twitter. I'll probably start a few more study groups around these topics, and the goal is only that all of us learn together. There's no other goal at all. So just those three comments, and of course, thanks everyone for showing up every week. And it's been awesome to just be in this global class and throughout this period.
Yeah, this is great. This is one of the nice things with the pandemic. We're used to on Zoom. I mean, these things would be impossible in person. We got people from all over the world, which is really fascinating. I tell my wife, I go, yeah, I'm talking to some people in India, Spain, the United States, down there in South America. She's like, what? I go, yeah. I said, there are people from all over the world that are involved in the study group, and it makes it just so much more exciting. So yeah, thank you. This has been a lot of fun for me. I've learned a lot, and hopefully I'll be back for the second part. So we'll stay tuned.
Awesome. Winners, you hear from us Weights and Biases. So in case you haven't already. All right. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll have more study groups. I won't say bye, but I'll see you soon. That's what I'll say.
All right.
Thank you.